Welcome to the It's Better Together podcast, where intelligent conversations turn dreams into action, with hosts Marcy Stout and Allison Nissen. Each episode highlights inspirational women and practical business advice from the Revel Coach Tuesday at 2 live programs. From building a website to securing more clients, we cover topics that are interesting to you. On this highlight reel of Tuesday at 2, we meet Sierra Wallizer, who is revolutionizing the way we make our beds from design to launch. Let's meet Sierra.
All right, I actually want to back up a little bit to the time I first moved to New York City. I like to share this story just because I think it really portrays, how I approach most things, including starting Kite Linens. So at the age of 8 years old, I came to New York for the first time. I was on a bus trip with my mom and my best friend, and we drove 6 hours from my small hometown in West Virginia. And upon getting here, I was just in awe by everything about this city. It was just unlike anything I've ever seen growing up in such a small town in West Virginia. And so it was at that same age that I told my mom I was going to be a businesswoman with a briefcase in New York City when I grew up. So that's what I wanted to be when I grew up. Ironic part is I still haven't gotten the briefcase, but I am in New York and I'm doing business. But fast forward to age 18, I saved up enough money in high school and I moved to New York for the first time, like you said, and lived here for the summer, just working odd jobs. Went back to West Virginia for college. And then when I graduated at 21, I moved to New York with my first job. And I've been here now for 9 years. And the thought that I had at 8 years old, it never left me, right? So I always had the desire and that drive to make living in NYC happen. And, there's really funny stories of how I survived on ramen and soup, and I traveled my laundry all the way back to West Virginia so I didn't have to pay the high prices in New York. Like all of these things I did to survive. But the point of that story and why I like sharing it is because I was persistent and just determined to live that dream. And so the same is true now with Kite Linens. And so almost a year ago, I had this idea that was not about bed sheets, actually. It was inspired by my fiance to design men's button-down shirts. There was a thought that there wasn't a ton of designs for men, but there's a lot for women. So I was going to try to learn this process. For only about 3 months, I worked on that until I had a better idea, which was designing a sheet that never came untucked, no matter how you sleep. And the reason why I thought it was a better idea was because, one, it seems like a lower barrier to entry than men's fashion, and it solved an actual problem. So this idea for a bed sheet came to me on a Saturday morning. My fiance was golfing. I woke up, I make my bed every day, but when I sleep at night, I sleep with my feet out, my legs out for that temperature control. Some of us do that, I'm sure. My fiance doesn't like when the sheet is tucked too tight and that tension is kind of caused on his toes. We both kick the sheet out and sleeping that way. And frankly, I just find it annoying to have to circle the bed a couple of times, bend down, retuck, and do it every day. And I thought, okay, there's got to be a better way. It has been centuries since this rectangular piece of material has been invented. Why has there never been an attempt to make it better? So I just started doing research and found that those attempts have really only been in the material and or the thread count of a sheet. And that's how we buy our sheets today, right? Based on the material and thread count. But the structure of the sheet has never really changed. There have been a few attempts. So I spent all day Saturday creating a prototype. I slept with it that night. It did not work at all. And then I spent all day Sunday with my fiance sort of cutting and clipping and pinning all of these sheets that we already owned into a working prototype. And that's how I got there.
I love it. So, the one thing for those of you who've been on these calls before, our whole vision with starting the Tuesday at 2 is Allison and I just wanted a conversation where we're mentoring each other, and we are, individually, we all know a little, collectively, we all know a lot. So what I love, Sierra, about you doing this is you went from like idea to now everything from like researching manufacturers and Shopify and all these things where I speak to a lot of women. They're like, oh, I've always dreamed of starting, and it could be clothing, jewelry, like a lot of different products. and they always ask, but they always kind of say, like, I don't even know how to get started. So looking at some people that are in the on the call with us, I know they joined today because they're like, well, how do you even begin? So you first did the prototype,
Yeah.
and then talk to us, like, maybe the next couple months. Like, how did you really kind of say, this is what I want to do?
Absolutely. So I had that prototype in hand, and again, it wasn't properly sewn because I can't even sew. It was held together by safety pins and using a pencil, sort of drawing dotted lines where I thought it should be folded and cut and what have you. And so I had the idea of, actually it was my fiance's idea, to go to a seamstress just here in New York City. So I went to the seamstress that, helps tailor all of my clothes, and I made an instruction manual. Just took pictures, printed those pictures, wrote underneath of them all of the dimensions and details, and took it over to her. I said, can you make this? A week later, she made it almost perfectly, but it was good enough for me to have that prototype in hand to then go speak to manufacturers and say, okay, can you replicate this? But let's talk about like the 3 to 4 areas where it needs to be perfected a bit.
And so when you're saying talk to manufacturers, like, did you Google manufacturers or did you talk to people in the industry? How do you
Thank you for asking that. And the reason why I love that you're asking that is because this has always been my question to people who have started things. And frankly, their answers are just a little too generic for me. I'm just someone who needs to know all the details, all the facts, give me every step of the way. And I really thought that there was like this magical guide out there that told you how to get started. The truth is there's not. And so I think the first thing to understand is there isn't one step that works for everyone. But if you break down those milestones into a ton of little steps, you won't seem overwhelmed or as overwhelmed. So for me, when I had the idea, I first needed to validate that idea, right? Before I even took this to the seamstress. So what did I do? I started Googling, I started researching if there were other products or ideas that existed or were very similar to mine. I joined Facebook groups that may be interested in something like this, saw what they were talking about, the issues they were facing. I sent surveys over Facebook and gathered feedback. I actually got 100 respondents in my first survey that validated my idea. And I also learned a few things additional in that survey. Hosting little focus groups with your friends is helpful. And so as you do these little steps, you start to build more confidence in yourself that you can go to the next milestone. And so that next milestone was then finding a manufacturer. I had no idea where to start. Frankly, I started on Alibaba.com because I think a lot of us know what that is, but there's so many options on there. I felt immediately overwhelmed. So started Googling again, found out about this global sourcing show in Vegas. It's called Magic. And I think it happens once or twice a year in Vegas. And it is filled with manufacturers from the show. And I walked away with contacts in, I think it was China, Portugal, Mexico, and India. And I started reaching out to all of them. I created what you would call a spec and not a very professional one. It was just on a Google Doc with some pictures and dimensions, sent it their way and said, can you help me make this? I collected samples from most of those manufacturers. And the honest truth is, just so everyone's aware, I haven't launched this product from a purchasing standpoint just yet, because I'm still trying to find that perfect manufacturer. And I've now moved into the US, so I'm working with US manufacturers as well. But to find those, 2 sites I used were Alibaba, as well as Maker's Row, which are specifically US manufacturers.
And is Magic, you were talking about the trade show, is it just for people doing, launching products, just manufacturers for outsourcing?
You can go and find manufacturers, or you can be present as a brand, someone who's going to find materials and or clothing or whatever it might be to put into your store or sell to those who have a store. So it's kind of a mix of all. I was just going as someone to find suppliers.
Okay. And so to understand it, so you have like the market, whether there's one in New York City, there's one in Atlanta. So designers go there and they set up like showcases and they can buy the latest trends. Is it
Right.
like that, but more for products?
Correct. Yeah, exactly. And I can't speak too much to that experience because I wasn't a brand and wasn't allowed on that floor, but that's
But
what
one day, one
that
day.
right. Give me a year and then I'll be in there selling to buyers for their store, hopefully.
And so the stage that you're in now is you're close to getting the product ready once you find the right quality of fabric. Is that
Yeah.
right? So the design is set.
It's the design is set. It's all about fabric and it's really all about pricing.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. But every manufacturer that I found have their own issues, or maybe I have the issues with them. But starting in China, it's just really hard, at least in my opinion, to work with Chinese manufacturers. The response time is really slow. The turnaround time is therefore slow. They can't, Chinese government prevents you from downloading a lot of things, so I can't send them proper materials. So the communication was just very difficult. Moving into Portugal is a bit easier, and we're seeing progress there. The issue in the U.S., although it's high quality, is pricing. It's a very high cost to produce in the US. So, you have to weigh, well, what do I want to sell this product at? And I have something in mind, which I don't want to share because I don't want to say it and then not land on it. And, in order to get there, the cost of manufacturing has to be significantly lower than what they're providing today.
And again, I love this. I love that you're in the process of figuring it out because, when we have these conversations, as great as it would be to have the founder of Lululemon on here, we want somebody that's like in the process of doing it because we learn from each other. And, our commitment is, talking about saying our dreams out loud and then taking a step. So the one thing that I was really fascinated about your story is that you could actually get a patent on a sheet. Because I would think that there just can't be that much variety in the design that would actually be patent worthy. So can you share a little bit more on that?
Yeah.
That idea to do it and then how you did it?
Absolutely. When the patent idea came to mind, and I think for a lot of people when they create something brand new, the immediate thought is, oh, I need to protect this design, right? There could be someone who wants to license it from me in the future, which was absolutely my thought. So I used my network to actually meet a patent lawyer. I asked him out for coffee to pick his brain, right? This is a secret to getting time with a lawyer and not having to pay for it, by the way. And everyone wants to talk about themselves. So I was doing that. And I just kind of asked, what are the pros, what are the cons, what are the prices, etc. I heard from a lot of people not to do it because of the cost. But the more I thought about it, I would hate to go to market, actually have a product that is successful and people want to maybe take it, if a Cozy Earth or a Brook Linens or name your sheet sees that there's success in this design, of course they're going to want to take that. So I wanted to protect myself regardless. So in picking this lawyer's, brain, we ultimately did end up working together. And right now we're patent pending. So there is a whole process of being patent pending first, and then at patent sitting at the patent office for 1 to 2 to 3 years before they even review it. So we're kind of protected, if you will, for a year, the idea is. And then as soon as I kind of go to market, I'm going to go back to that patent office and say, okay, put it in front of the patent lawyer or the office to now go and see if we can patent this idea. But before I even met with this lawyer, I think this is an interesting bit. You can search patents just online. And I did a lot of research to see if there was anything else out there that was even remotely close to my design. I found one that was similar, not identical. And the first thing I needed to prove was that I wouldn't be infringing on this patent. Based on my research, there isn't any product that you can actually purchase, but it doesn't mean that this individual can't come after me, right? They do own the patent. So we being the lawyer and myself kind of said, okay, the design that we have, there's enough what they call claims that are different enough that I likely wouldn't be infringing on this woman's patent if she were to come after me. Mm-hmm. And then the second step of that is, okay, you're not infringing, but are you even patentable? So that's up to the office to decide when that gets in front of them. So we're still going through that process, but are officially patent pending.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations. I feel like that's amazing validation that the idea is
Absolutely. Thank you.
right. Whatever you want. But the one question I have for you, so you're building this, you've got a full-time, pretty intense job in a high-paced technology company in New York City. So I can only imagine like the type of responsibilities and workload and expectations there. Can you talk to us a little bit about time management as well as you're engaged? So we know that that's that's another
At a wedding planning.
wedding planning is another pretty big one. How are you juggling it all? Like what's your approach to time management?
I didn't know what the right approach was at first, and I attempted to work on Kite Linens in the evenings, but very quickly found that my brain is mush by the end of the day. So as much as I didn't want to, I made myself wake up very early and started work on Kite Linens honestly from 5 to 7 a.m. And that's where, even though I'm a little tired, you get a cup of coffee in me, I'm ready to go. I could focus more during that time frame. Then I get ready, go to work, do my day job, come back, and that's when I plan my wedding. I leave the mush brain for the wedding planning. But
That's the fun part. You can't get sleepy during that part.
no, exactly. It's just all stress. No. You have to find what works for you, right? When are you most tired or not tired, or when do you have that free time? Maybe it's a couple of hours, or your lunch break at work, wherever you can find it. But for me, it's in the early morning. That works best.
Yeah. And then do you find yourself in those early mornings? Like, do you just kind of did you map out a plan? Do you have a business plan that you're using that to go off of every 2 hour, for your 2 hour morning time or?
Well, I wouldn't call it an official business plan. I was saying earlier, I live in spreadsheets. So I've sort of mapped out those milestones or those major steps of the process as much as I know, right? And I'm learning as I go. I constantly am meeting people who have been in this industry, and I'm buying a lot of coffees to pick their brain, but it's worth it to me. And I'm kind of just mapping together like, okay, I need to remember that something as small as adding tags, right, to the sheet. Well, how do I do that? That's a different process than working with the same manufacturer that's creating that sheet. Okay, now I need to think about sizing and colors. Okay, does the manufacturer dye their material? Do I need to find another one there? Okay, packaging, that's a completely different thing. And then each of those have all of these many steps. So my spreadsheet is very full of those milestones and or steps with all these many things in between. And only like a third of it is complete at this point. But that's kind of what I use to get through it.
We have a question that came in, and it says, what do you think of Shark Tank? Do you watch Shark Tank?
I'm obsessed with that show. That's actually why I don't work in the evenings. I'm just watching it. Yeah. I really love Shark Tank. And one individual I met who is sort of like a gun for hire for these brands that go into big box retailers. I had a lunch with him, and I pitched him Kite Linens to, basically get him to say, I really want to walk this into X retailer. And that happened at the end of the lunch, which was great. Although it was a verbal, there's no, written agreement or anything, but we're staying in touch. But he said, I've been in this industry for 25 years and I've never seen anything like this. And this is Shark Tank material. Then my heart sunk because I'm like, I can imagine standing in front of 6 of them and pitching this, but maybe I'll get there.
I think the amount that you would learn just in the experience would be overwhelming.
I think you're right. I mean, I learned so much from just watching it. I can only imagine how much I would learn being in there with them. And I would make that a goal for sure. What I also learned in watching Shark Tank is I listen for what go-to-market strategies the sharks prefer. Mm-hmm. Honestly, they're a little different each time. So it makes me wonder, like, what is the best? And I've asked for guidance many times, again, with those that I'm speaking with. And everyone really has a different opinion, right? You're going to meet the people that say, oh my gosh, big box retailers are dead. Don't do it. Go Amazon. That's the future. You're also going to meet people that say, but I touch and feel my sheets when I buy them. So of course you have to be in a big box retailer, right? And then you have these direct to consumer brands that have seen huge success, but then others that haven't. So I've been going back and forth with what is the best route for me. But what I think I've landed on is first launching via our website, direct to consumer. And that website, I don't know if it's up, but it's just kitelinens.com. It's closed today because we, again, don't have that product yet put up there, but very soon, I hope. And I'm using the power of social media right now to build that audience, to build that interest, that intrigue, that excitement, so that by the time we can launch, you know the name, you know what we're about, you know our differentiators, and hopefully that would get, people to purchase. And then from there, once I sort of prove that this has some legs, there's success, I have a whole spreadsheet of potential, strategies I would follow. But I think I actually do want to try to get into big box retailers, and I've already started networking with some people to hopefully build those relationships and have someone walk us in, or meet the right people. So starting online first, but hopefully grow that from there. The other idea is collaborations, right? If you think about, if you guys know Casper Mattress,
Right?
They sell mattresses, but why not sell really highly functioning sheets along with those mattresses? Even the existing sheet brands today, like I was saying, Brooklyn and e.v.e.r.y.t.i.m.e, you name it. Again, my differentiator is the structure, it's the design, the utility of the sheet. If they've already mastered selling really high quality, soft to the touch, everyone loves it, sheets, there could be an opportunity for collaboration in the design along with what they've already established. So another strategy that's on the list. And
all right. Can I ask the elephant in the room? What's the design, or is that still a secret?
Well, since we're patent pending, I feel more comfortable now to share that. But a lot of people said, is it connected to the mattress sheet, the one that goes over the mattress? It's not. At the end, so everyone, if you sleep with two sheets, you'll be interested in this. If you don't, then this may not be for you. But if you sleep with two sheets and you find it even the slightest bit annoying to retuck that top sheet every morning when you make your bed, then this would be of interest. That top sheet has an elastic element at the bottom of it that fits under the mattress. And it does two things. One, it stays in place and doesn't come untucked. It also helps keep the mattress sheet on the mattress. Some people, I've learned in that survey I sent out, is that their mattress sheet slips off their mattress because it's, not deep enough, what have you. This actually kind of kills two birds with one stone. And then there's a slit made, that's the best way I can describe it without showing it to you, that allows you to sleep how you want, which is our motto. And for me, that's sleeping with my feet out. And
yes,
you do that now without it coming untucked. For my fiance, he doesn't like that tension on his toes. Well, he can sleep how he wants without that tension, and it's still not coming untucked. So we were really thoughtful in the design to incorporate or to ensure that we were covering off all possible ways people may sleep.
Well, you can put me on your sale, on your list. So as soon as they come out, because that's exactly how we sleep. To watch a live Tuesday at 2 program with Revel Coach, visit us at revelcoach.com. Until next time.